I hereby convene the Westchester Township Trustee meeting, July 23rd, 2013. Roll call.
Mr. Wong?
Here.
Mrs. Stoker?
Here.
Mr. Lang?
Here.
Please arise. Tonight I'm going to invite Colin Ream of Troop number 962 to do our Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Okay, first part of our meeting, we have citizens' comment. We have Mr. Carl Ruman sign up. You have 2 minutes. Please state your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Carl Ruhlman, 8285 Vental Drive. First tonight are the 2013 contracts for paving and slurry sealing of township streets and roads. Comparison with 2012 shows paving down 11% and slurry seal down 19%. It sounds good, but I'll wait till I see the miles of pavement involved, because these agenda item totals vary year to year. They really do. You are the board that believes that slurry seal is an economic and effective street maintenance method. Those receiving the treatment this year and those living with the terrible appearance of streets with slurry applied in the past are welcome to make their feelings known. You are the same board that wouldn't answer my zoning issue questions of June 11th as to which are more important and have more value, the rules which you continually make more cumbersome, or the individual people whom you purport to serve. You are the board that spent $2 million for a virtually unusable, landlocked 3.2 acres with a retention pond and overhead power lines, not even caring enough about governmental transparency to list the amount of this expenditure in the meeting agenda. You are the board with a member that got work started on a crosswalk of dubious value prior to board approval, a conflict of interest issue. You are the board that will discuss electric aggregation. You should not restrict free enterprise efforts that will reduce costs for citizens. However, it is dubious that government should select and favor specific vendors for others to use. You are the board that will not push back against unfunded and unconstitutional mandates from higher level governments, county, state, and especially federal. Citizens expect that you will follow the oaths you have taken to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Carl.
you. Okay, no presentation. And I will entertain a motion for approval of trustee meeting minutes, July 9th, 2013.
Also move.
I'll second.
Discussion? Roll call?
I didn't see anybody make any comments other than just that one spelling,
Right.
so we're all good?
Right.
Roll call?
Will you make the correction?
That's what she's saying, correct.
Roll call.
Mr. Wong?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoker?
Yes?
And Mr. Lang?
Yes.
I will entertain a motion to approve payment of bills.
Also move?
I'll second it.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Wong?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoker?
Yes.
Mr. Lang?
Yes.
Ms. Boyko, requisitions greater than 2,500.
There are 4 requisitions for the board's consideration, and items 1, 2, and 4 relate to the 2013 paving program. Item 1 is in the amount of $1,496,010.91 to John R. Jurgensen Company. This is for, as I said, the 2013 paving contract. Of this amount, approximately $650,000 of that is going to be paid from the roads fund directly, and the other $850,000 is going to be distributed between the 2 TIF districts, State Route 747 and the Union Center Boulevard TIF district. The board may recall that through a expanding partnership with the Butler County Engineers Office to share services. We will also effectuate another $260,000 worth of paving that it will not be paid for by the township, but will be paid for by the county through their paving program. So we're really effectuating more. The paving program is going to encompass about 8.0 miles, and that's of the township share. Another half of mile or so are from the county's contribution to our program. Item 2 is services. That is for the slurry program. It's to $229,751.87 to American Pavements Incorporated, and this is, as I said, for the slurry contract. Item 3, services in the amount of $16,539.88. This is to D.A. Van Dam Associates. The board has already created a purchase order and previously was made out to the Butler County Engineers Office for this specific project. The improvements to the Red Mill drainage culvert and stormwater system. In order to effectuate the project more quickly because of the ongoing and the pending paving program to replace curbs, it would behoove the township to expedite this project, which requires, then the county has asked us to make and pay the vendor directly for materials as opposed to paying the county, and the county would pay the vendor. So you're not reissuing an additional amount of funding for this project. You are not changing the amount of funding or budgeting for this project. You are simply authorizing us to change the vendor payment for this project with this item 3. And item 4 is services in the amount of $5,150.90 to Miller Mason Paving Company, and this is for the chip seal. There is only one section, and it's a non-public roadway that the township will utilize chip seal, and that is for an access drive as part of our Safety Services Center, internal parking area.
I will entertain a motion for item 1 through 4.
Also move.
I'll second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Wong?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoker?
Yes.
And Mr. Lang?
Yes.
Ms. Boyko, personnel item.
In February of 2006, the trustees initiated a performance-based merit increase program, and we discarded the typical government step system program for qualified non-contract employees. This evening's agenda item only in terms of percentages for merit consideration for percent of merit increases for employees. This is only governing the non-contract employees. Of the non-contract workforce in Westchester Township, it's about 28%, about 67 employees out of a total of about 250. So this only affects 28% of your workforce. And based on a detailed business case that was performed by our HR staff, and also our finance director also inputted on it, and after studying and evaluating other like public and non-public sector employers, it was their recommendation for the board to consider a 2.5% merit pool. As you are aware, the board, when you do consider increases for the non-contract employees, the system develops a pool or a pot of money based on current payroll by department, and a not-to-exceed amount that any one employee could not receive should they be granted a merit increase. The system is based solely not on the ability to economically manage and award those employees that are highly recognized and are outstanding performers in the function and capacity of their duties. With the consideration of a 2.5% merit pool, not to exceed 4% for any one employee's performance merit consideration, we are looking at a direct payroll increase of about $100,000, and an indirect, when you factor in FICA, BWC, and of course pension and unemployment, looking at about another $17,000 of indirect costs that will be applied to payroll. So I leave that for the board's consideration. There is a sample motion at the bottom of your memorandum for your review and consideration should you wish.
All right, I will entertain a motion for item 5.
I'd like to make the, one moment while I move over to item 5. Thank you. I would like to make a motion to approve a 2% of applicable current payroll for consideration for 2013 merit performance increases for all qualified non-contract exempt and non-exempt employees, and to approve a not to exceed 4% increase for any individual employee's merit performance, and to authorize the Township Administrator to approve and apply said merit performance increases effective the first full pay period in July, subject to already approved and existing related policies and procedures.
Okay.
I'll second that for the purpose of discussion.
Okay, discussion?
Did you want to start?
Sure. I would encourage my colleagues not to support this at this time. Nothing against Westchester Township employees. We have what I think are the best employees, especially government employees, and the best leadership of any township or any governmental entity that I'm familiar with in the entire state. But as we look what's going on, our funding sources are drying up. Our local government fund keeps decreasing, and that's a result of the state of Ohio balancing their budgets on the backs of local government. When you hear our state leaders say they've reduced the budget by over $8 billion, the deficit that they had, they've done it on the backs of local governments. And all you're going to see, I should say primarily on the backs of local governments, you're going to see a cost shift. More and more levies are going to have to go on if local governments are going to keep their services up. It's been nothing more than a cost shift to local governments. And I was okay with the reduction in local government fund, but my advice to my state representative was do it commensurate with a similar cost in the complexity of state government. And from what I could tell by looking at the state general fund, that didn't happen. So our local government fund is being reduced. The inheritance tax is not now being reduced, it's being eliminated. A nice revenue source for the township. Our ad valorem tax is subject to market conditions, and currently those market conditions are not favorable, not only for us, but for any government. Property continues to go down in value, and as there's more and more foreclosures, both residentially and commercially, the revenue into the government is being reduced. And then if we look at what's going on with compensation, it used to be people would go to work in the public sector knowing they were going to make less money, but they had great benefits and great security. Well, that's not the case today. According to Hewitt and Mercer, in a study put out by the Buckeye Institute, the public sector's average total compensation is 43% higher than the private sector's total average compensation. And if we look what's going on just in Westchester, and I've got some numbers here put out by the Ohio Department of Education. It's the closest thing that I can find. It's for the Lakota School District. So it includes Liberty as well. So this may not be exactly comparison. It's Westchester and Liberty combined. But if you just look at the median household income in Lakota for the last 2 years, from 2010 through 2011, the median household income went from $52,641 to $52,956, an increase of $315, less than 1%, about 0.6%. And from 2011 to 2012, that increase was by $42, which was significantly less than 0.5%. And it's purely a reflection of what's going on in the community. One of our largest employers, AK Steel, had every single one of their executives take a 5% pay cut. Well, those people took that pay cut 3 years ago, and their compensation still hasn't caught up to where they were 3 years ago. It's just reflective of what's going on in the market. And my big point is the public sector cannot continue to grow at a pace greater than the private sector. And the public sector needs to slow down and let the private sector catch up. And if we just look at Westchester, we had 172 employees last year that earned over $60,000. And if you factor in total compensation, benefits of everything, that's probably somewhere between $90,000 and $100,000. And we had 25,000 that were at the 99,000 level and above. And I don't make any of those employees wrong. This is America. I think everybody should make the greatest amount of compensation that they can make. It's just that while the public sector stagnates or is in recession, the private sector can't continue to grow. And I would encourage my colleagues to join me and not support this.
Thank you. We just recently had a meeting, of course, with our auditors where they drew attention to the fact and applauded the discipline and restraint that we have had with expenditures. With our general fund, even though revenues, as you say, are leveling off, the actual fact is for the last couple of years, our expenditures in our general fund have been reducing. Now, they are being reduced because primarily, I believe, or in large, a significant part because we are constantly looking at ways to work smarter, to work more efficiently. And in fact, our non-contract employees, which we have 67, are currently doing the work that used to a few years ago be done by 75 people. They have brought down by hundreds of thousands of dollars a year the cost of providing services in Westchester. Now, at your suggestion, Mr. Lang, and we thought it was a very good one, we stopped giving cost of living increases to our non-contract employees years ago. And we went to a system that says the only way you can make more money as a contract employee is if you... Non-contract, thank you. Non-contract employee is through merit increases of the type that we are considering tonight, where we have an overall pool of what I've moved of 2%, and of that 2% average, some people won't get any. Perhaps quite a few won't, because only the best employees will get the best raises. And it's my belief that you can't continue to expect our employees to reduce the cost by many hundreds of thousands of dollars a year through their own hard work, their own creativity, their own ingenuity, without giving them any appreciation at all. Now, if we were spending more than we were taking in on revenues, I would say, well, as wonderful as our employees are, we just can't do it this year. But that's not the case. The fact is our general fund is healthy. The fact is we have consistently, year after year after year, kept our spending within our revenue. And year after year, our employees have done an exemplary job of reducing costs and performing services more efficiently. Now, with respect, and I went out and the staff has provided us also with some charts and funds with respect to what is happening in the private sector with respect to increases in salaries. The AON Hewitt reports on the U.S. salary increase survey, overall actual salary increase spending for 2010, they reported that increase at 2.8%, which was just short of the projected 2.9%. Projected salary increase spending for 2013 is expected to increase modestly to 3.0%. And I'm recommending just a 2% increase.
2.5%.
No, the motion I made was 2%.
Oh, I stand corrected. I'm reading 2.5%. I stand
You're,
corrected.
That's what
Thank you for
staff
that.
recommended, but she counted.
I'm trying to be careful. I mean, I hear everything you say, George,
Yeah.
and I'm frequently in agreement, particularly when we're talking about having to be careful about what we're doing. Now, the VeriCite Compensation, Retirement, and Benefits Trend Report states base salary increases continue to edge up in 2012, and anticipated 2013 salary increases budgets continued to creep closer to the 3% average. The average increase of 2.6%, including salary freezes, in 2012 for salaried workers was still a historically modest increase that reflected the persistent unease regarding the economy. Anticipated salary increases for 2013 are only marginally higher than 2012, with companies planning to level out around 2.7%. Additionally, 14% of organizations still anticipate salary freezes. And for quite a few of our non-contract, there probably will be salary freezes because not everybody gets an increase when the only increase you get is on merit. 3% raises are the new normal, says Ravin Jesuthasson, a compensation expert and managing director with Towers Watson. Quote, I don't think anyone should expect merit increases to deviate much going forward, even if the economy does do well. The Mercer survey reports most mid-sized employers expect to increase salaries in 2013 by nearly 3%. Most companies, in general, 98% are expected to increase salaries 2.9%. So I don't think we are out of sync with the private sector in considering a 2% merit increase pool, which means some very few might get 3 to 4%, many might get none. If they're at the top of their salary, they don't get any more. They're at the top of their range. And I think this is important. It is so important to recognize and appreciate employees that have reduced the cost of government, these very employees, by hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. I think it just makes sense. Otherwise, basically what we're doing is saying, doesn't matter how hard you work, you aren't going to get compensated for it, so why work so hard? Number one. And number two, and as soon as things get better and more organizations are looking for good employees and who have a history of treating them well, they're going to be gone. We will lose our best and brightest, the people who are saving our taxpayers hundreds of thousands of dollars. Yeah. So therefore, I support a modest pool of 2% for merit increases where no one person would get more than 4%.
Kathy, I agree with virtually everything you said, especially how we set this up on merit-based. I appreciate you supporting me when we did that in 2006. My only point is we are now at a point in American history where the private sector employee makes less than the public sector. And the private sector, even during the recession, the public sector employee makes more. That's what I said. And the public sector, even during the recession, continued to grow and grow while the private sector contracted or went into recession or at least stayed flat. And you just can't have government continuing to grow while the private sector is flat, because who funds government? It's the private sector. The government doesn't produce or generate anything. Now, we do offer services that are of tremendous value, but they're not revenue enhancing or revenue producing services like police and fire. You have to have it. How do you charge someone for that? There's, so we have to tax, we have to charge, we have to spread that across everything, because we don't have revenue streams that we can have a significant impact on.
Well, actually, we do.
So I can't argue with what you said. I'm just saying, looking into the future, if government doesn't get in check, a day of reckoning is coming. You can look at Stockton, California. You can look at Detroit, Michigan. You can look what's going on right now in California, New Jersey, and Illinois. A day of reckoning is coming. But I couldn't argue with any of your points, though. They were all great points.
Well, and I think you make good points. The only disagreement I have is that the examples you cite are communities or states or cities that have for years been spending more than their revenue. Westchester is not in that situation, and certainly in good part to your careful consideration of our expenditures, and I think as a policy of the entire board, and with the very capable work of our staff, we have been constantly, for years and decades, doing everything we can to try and keep our costs down.
Yeah,
and that's why we have the highest credit rating you can have
right.
in this state. We're higher than Butler County, the city of Cincinnati.
Higher than anybody.
And nobody
Yeah.
has higher than we do. Some
Yeah.
might equal a few, and it's because we've been so very careful.
Yeah,
But we
Kathy, you're
have to
exactly
reward
right.
good work within what you can afford to do.
That's right.
You
And-
have to,
and-
or you lose the good workers.
Every community that I mentioned at one point had the very highest bond rate. They were rocking and rolling, and they just kept growing. And as their economy stagnated, contracted, went into recession, the government didn't stop growing. And my only caution is we as a government can't grow quicker than the groups of people that support us. I don't think I'm going to change your mind. Mr. Wong, where are you at?
Good. In 2006, we did away with, we told our employee, we're going to do away with the step increase. Automatic step increases out the window. We promised them that they're going to get the merit compensation program, which is based on performance base, and which you will agree with it.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Based on the performance. And since then, we have reduced many positions, over 20 positions save us over $1 million. And that these employees not all of them get raised every year based on their performance only, and that they have increased their workload. Some of them, I know that they take more jobs than before.
No doubt.
And that Ms. Stoker here just reduced from 2.5% to 2%. That moved, the motion they have reduced from $100,000 to about $80,000 per year for this increase. Cost of living goes up every year. Our employees in the township, they have done an excellent job.
Agreed.
And that we cannot, it is just not right to not reward them for some of the good performance that they. I know some employees that are sitting here have not had a raise for many years in this room, and that they have done an excellent job. Therefore, I think that this proposal is warranted.
I can count to two. I do have one exception to the points that I was making, and that is Ms. Boyko. I know for years she has not allowed herself to even be considered for a raise to make sure the employees can be taken care of. And I think we need to sit down and take a look at what she's done and act accordingly. I know she's done a tremendous job over the years without even asking for extra compensation. So.
That's right. Roll call. Mr. Jones?
Mr. Wong?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoker?
Yes.
Mr. Lang?
No.
Okay. Move on to item 6.
Item 6, a motion to hire 3 part-time employees to fill a vacant positions. Currently, the fire department's part-time firefighter/EMT paramedics are below complement, and requesting the board's consideration to fill 3 of these vacancies. Firefighter 2 EMT Jared Drenick, Firefighter 2 EMT Joe Elliott, Firefighter 2 EMT Brian Sanders, all effective employment of August 6, 2013, and at the hourly rate of $15.61. There will be a 1-year probationary period, and this is contingent upon the successful completion of all of the testing and procedures.
Okay. I will entertain a motion for item 6.
Also moved.
I'll second it.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Wong?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoker?
Yes.
Mr. Lang?
Yes.
Business item.
Item 7 is a request for the board to consider declaring 6 properties as public nuisances. A sample motion is offered on page 2 of your memorandum. Page 3.
Okay. I will entertain a motion for item 7. Someone read it.
Having reviewed the staff reports and affidavits, I move that we declare the properties listed on the Westchester Township Board of Trustees meeting agenda dated July 23, 2013, to be a public nuisance as authorized by the Ohio Revised Code. Staff is directed to cause removal of the nuisances identified and monitor the properties for 90 days to require continued compliance. An administrative charge of 25% shall be added to the contractor fee for the properties.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Wong?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoker?
Yes.
Mr. Lang?
Yes.
Ms. Boyko, item 8.
Motion not to object to a new liquor permit for OSU WITT LLC doing business as Milano's Atlantic City Submarines at 7701 Voice of America Drive. Pleased to announce that this is the location of the previous Ruby Tuesdays and Marlin and Ray's, and so this would be an establishment that is proposed for that facility.
I will entertain a motion for item 8.
I'll make the motion that we not object.
I'll second that motion.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Wong?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoker?
Yes.
And Mr. Lang?
Yes.
Item 9.
Motion not to object to a liquor permit ownership revision for SBR 3 LLC doing business as Smashburger, 7598 Cox Lane. It's my understanding that a proprietor that was a partnership. One is going to be now sole partner or sole proprietor.
Okay. I will entertain a motion for item 9.
I'll make the motion. We not object.
All second?
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Wong?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoker?
Yes.
Mr. Lang?
Yes.
Item 10.
After formal review of some of the township streets in the Liberty Way vicinity, the Butler County Engineers Office is asking Liberty and Westchester to consider a speed limit study, and to solicit and petition the Ohio Department of Transportation through the Butler County Engineers Office to consider a traffic engineering and speed study for the portion of Liberty Way from Cincinnati-Dayton Road to Butler-Warren. This statutory resolution just facilitates and codifies the board's request to the County Engineer's Office to solicit the Ohio Department of Transportation to engage and conduct this traffic engineering and speed limit study. Currently, the speed limit as posted from prima facie is 55 miles per hour. The County Engineer's Office believes that is too excessive in light of some of the potential development that may occur over the next several years. So with that statutory resolution, board's consideration to approve statutory resolution number 12-2013, requesting a review of the speed limit engineering and traffic investigation study for Liberty Way between Cincinnati-Dayton Road and Cox Road, and to determine the statutory vehicular speed limit established by Ohio Revised Code section 4511.21, and whether such speed limit is greater or less than considered reasonable and safe. If I may just correct myself, as part of my explanation, I did indicate that the limits were to Butler-Warren. Actually, they are only to Cox Road, to Cincinnati-Dayton to Cox Road.
All right. I entertain a motion for item 10.
I'll make a motion then to approve statutory resolution number 12-2013, requesting a review of the speed limit engineering and traffic investigation study as described by Mrs. Boyko.
I'll second that.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Wong?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoker?
Yes.
Mr. Lang?
Yes.
We move down to citizens' comment. Please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, sir. My name is Jim Schaefer, and I live at 8283 White Hill Lane. And I've been a resident of Westchester for 29 years. And I'm here tonight representing the Cincinnati chapter of the Sons of the American Revolution. And I'm accompanied by Colonel Don McGraw, who is our chapter president. And our purpose tonight is to present to the National Voice of America Museum of Broadcasting our SAR, which is Sons of the American Revolution, flag certificate for recognition of its patriotic display of the United States of America flag at the museum site. Before I go into our reasons, I would like to thank the Township trustees and Mrs. Boyko for allowing us to come tonight and speak. The reasons, which would be considered the whereases in a resolution, are that the VOA Bethany Relay Station has had a significant place in the U.S. and world history for broadcasting messages of freedom to the world from 1944 to 1994. The VOA Bethany Relay Station was given to Westchester Township for historic monument purposes after it was decommissioned. The Ohio Historical Society in 2003 commemorated the VOA Bethany Relay Station with a historical marker for its contribution to the state's history. The VOA Bethany Relay Station was listed on the National Register of Historic Places in 2006. Westchester Township formed an independent board for development and operation of the National Voice of America Museum of Broadcasting, which is a work in progress. The museum and its location of prominence in Westchester Township inspires patriotism with its display of the United States of America flag to the thousands who pass by daily. These are my reasons. I've watched the museum and the site all the way from when the antennas came down Before that, I was picking up Spanish broadcasts on my phone when I first moved out here. All the way to the museum being developed. And as a citizen, I would like to commend the township for its support in preserving this historic site. Right now, I would like to have Colonel McGraw speak to you a little bit about what the SAR is and what our mission is, which I'm sure has an impact on our decision to present this certificate. So if I can get Colonel McGraw.
My name is Don McGraw, and I'm here on my capacity as the president of the Cincinnati chapter of the Ohio Society of the Sons of the American Revolution. The SAR is a fraternal and civic organization that composed of lineal descendants from those who fought in the Revolutionary War or those who supported it in one way or another. We maintain and extend the institutions of American freedom, the respect for national symbols, and the value and appreciation of true patriotism. That's the SAR part. I'd like to tell you kind of a personal thing and how I get to do this. I spent 34 years on active duty in the Army. And I got to go to a lot of great places like Grenada, Somalia, Iraq, and Afghanistan. And I spent a lot of time in these places, and you go out on missions, and you come back after a day or two, and you might be driving in a Humvee or flying in a helicopter. And as you approach whatever your base camp is, or the compound, or the outpost, generally speaking, the first thing you ever see on the horizon, because it's the highest thing, is an American flag. And I will tell you that every time I did that, and every time I returned, I sort of would get a lump in my throat. I know it may sound trite, but what the young men and women do and what they represent in terms of our institutions of democracy and freedom and how they present themselves out there, it serves as that beacon to all of those who see it. Now, as the president of the Cincinnati chapter, I get to give a flag certificate to somebody every year. And one of the ways I go about doing that is I take nominations and stuff, and then I go visit places. But as I visit these places, I always remember in my mind what it was like to fly back home into Mogadishu after delivering humanitarian supplies and things like that, and to see the flag flying on top of the building that we called home. We get to see a lot of different places, and Jim brought to me the Voice of America Museum. It was really a wonderful thing to see. I visit these places in the day, I visit them at night, and make sure they're doing all the things they're supposed to do correctly in terms of the flag. And frankly, having said all that, I'd like Mr. Reiser to come up, and I'd like to present him with our flag certificate for 2013. I'm not sure how to do this, but Jim, I sincerely appreciate it, and carry on with the flag. Okay.
Go ahead and then with the trustees in there too. It's your building.
Do you want to get in front of the flag?
So one to get. Because one of the things
In the front? Or?
Here we go. A rose between two thorns.
Thank you, sir.
I just wanted to say a couple of things. I accept this on behalf of the museum and the township, and indirectly the trustees, because I have to tell you, the reason that we have that site that we have out there, especially at night, is due to the township. I mean, they're the ones that put that together. They're the ones who did it. But it's a beautiful site, and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weiser, and thank you for all you've done to help preserve the building.
Is there anyone else? Calling once, calling twice? No time. Okay. Discussion items and trustee comments. Ms. Boyko?
Yes, and sorry to go off script, but I just wanted to recognize, as I'm sure the board would want me to, as our Commissioner T.C. Rogers is here this evening, Butler County Commissioner, and just wanted to wanted to acknowledge him and thank him for coming to our meeting. Regarding the discussion items, I have just one very briefly, and just to inform the board of some processes that are going on in terms of your aggregation programs. In the current renewal for the aggregation brokerage services for the electric supplier, expires at the end, for the electric supplier expires at the end of this year, 2013. You have contracted with First Energy Solutions as its electric aggregation provider since 2011. First, initially, it was a 2-year term, and then there was a 1-year extension taking us through the balance of this year. In that time period, participating accounts range from 16,000 accounts to 12,000 accounts, where we are pretty stable right now at 12,000 accounts. So there has been a reduction over the last 3 years, with a calculated average savings per account of about $655 and an aggregate savings of about $9 million over Duke Energy's costs during that same period. Now, this, of course, doesn't address or compare average account savings or aggregate savings over any other provider. It's only with what is positioned as terms of PUCO's monopolistic supplier, as in Duke. With the township aggregation programs, there are no guarantees for savings, as you know, and although it is an opt-out program, as with all aggregation provider contracts, we do negotiate that any account can cancel at any time with no penalty. So kind of to walk you through the process, the contract, as I said, with FES as the township's aggregation electric supplier expires at the end of this year, December 2013. The process to determine a successor electric supplier obviously requires board action, requires the board to effectuate a contract with a supplier. But even before that can happen, there is an RFP process that our broker, Mark Burns of Independent Energy Consultants, conducts. He conducts this RFP process, solicits to the electric industry suppliers bids, or just to bid for the supply contract, and then processes that RFP to present data and information about the best, hopefully the highest and best performer. So at this time, I wanted to just provide to you that the township broker is conducting that RFP process currently, and for the electric supplier, and then based on his explanation, he should be able to provide results to that RFP by early next month. I then subsequently would get them to you as quickly as I can after I've vetted any of my questions and concerns, but also that for this evening I'm not requesting any action. I simply wanted to present this to you publicly so that you are aware that within the next couple of meetings, at the board's pleasure, if you would want to continue with the electric aggregation program and can contract with the supplier, you would need to take some action on that RFP process and actually authorize me to negotiate a contract. Again, no action this evening, just simply letting you know publicly of this process and where we are in this process, and that at some point in the next month or so, 30 days, should you want to, you would need to take some action, formal action.
Okay.
Thank you, Judy.
Anything else?
That's all I have.
Okay. Let's see comment. Mr. Lane?
I would just like to welcome T.C. Rogers. I know Ms. Boyko did once. Good to see our county commissioners here. I can't remember the last time we had one at our meeting, T.C., so good to see you hanging out here in Westchester at our meetings. Thank you.
Welcome, T.C.
I'd just like to say that coming up in the next 10 days or so, Westchester is going to be home to the Junior Youth Triathlon Championships, which will be played out in the Voice of America Park. They expect about 500 entries. That means 500 entries and their families are coming to stay in our hotels, eat at our restaurants, and in general really help our economy. This is one of the wonderful ways that we get a significant countable payback for providing those amenities that people need to pursue these kinds of activities. Basically, I'm talking, of course, about park development. Metro Park has been a tremendous partner for the township, and I see nothing but good times coming through working with them and helping their development. We had the wonderful, of course, cardboard regatta recently, which was a lot of fun. Metro Park's website should have soon, if they don't have already, pictures of all the wonderful creations. I'm always amazed every time I go. There's a wonderful picture of some children in something they call Swamp Thing. It was just wonderful. A big green dragon. I don't know how many they managed to load in there, but it was a bunch. Lots of fun. It really is a jewel, I think, in Westchester's crown, that park, and all the activities and excitement it brings to our community.
Thank you. And Township done a lot of things for our residents. On Thursday evening, of course, the after hour at the square, the band out there promote business. And then on Saturday, we have the band at the Keener Park. It's sponsored by the Fifth Third Bank every year, and it's very successful. Again, I want to welcome Commissioner T.C. Rogers. Do we have any no executive? Okay. I make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Also move.
I'll second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Wong?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoker?
Yes.
Mr. Lang?
Yes.